Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much, Laura. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be with you today. This is an amazing collaboration that we've been having for quite a while. It's going to be 5 years working together with Montclair State University and everything we can offer. And of course, the amazing New Jersey Early Intervention System. I want to thank especially to Laura Washington for inviting me to this presentation. I'm happy to be here, really thrilled. Of course, always grateful to Christy Kugelman, who is our main lead and contact that we with whom we share this collaboration as well, and the whole NJEIS team at the Department of Health as well. So I'm here to start our presentation today. Here with me is my amazing colleague, Janaea Ingram. She's going to be also present today to cheer me up. And here we go. Let's start with the content, because that's the most important thing that we have for you today. And I'm really hopeful that everything that we prep for you today is going to be prepping you for reflection, also prompting you, and of course, that we will take something. You will take something today, maybe a refresher moment. It could be also something new that you will learn, or just something to take into your heart. Anything that can help you. We are really thrilled to be doing this presentation for you. So the title is Understanding Routines and Challenging Behaviors in Young Children. This is a very important topic. I know you all always strive to understand why routines are so important, and also why challenging behaviors in young children, especially infant and toddlers, appear. Why do they come along, and what is going on with all of them? So for this, I have a reflection prompt for you to start. So let me move a little bit here, the square, and I just want to focus on this. Okay, here we are. So it says here, imagine for a moment that you have on your care a baby, a toddler, a preschooler, and suddenly he or she bursts into tears, throws away their toy and refuses to be comforted. It feels like chaos, right? To be comforted. It feels like chaos. But what if I told you this isn't just a meltdown? It's a message, a story waiting to be understood. Today, we are going to learn how to translate those stories and turn meltdowns into moments of connection. So why is this so important? We are gonna dive in. I want you to chill out, refresh, and be in your seat and just breathe deeply and think about all you can process with us today and that you can take away. And of course, we are always grateful, as I said, to our early relational health workforce at Montclair State University. This is a presentation developed by me, your facilitator today, your presenter, Yolanda Sosa. And I always want to thank the Pyramid Model Consortium and the National Center for Pyramid Model Innovations for all that they have offered with the Pyramid Model framework that we are using today, but also we are using the infant mental health approach. So by the end of this session, I want you to be able to recognize how predictable routines can be and how we can help with them regulate those meltdowns, those tantrums, those moments of emotional dysregulation. I will also want you to think about infants and toddlers, which is so different from 3 years old and beyond. I want you to identify common triggers with me. Also, have a clear understanding on what is a tantrum, what is a meltdown, how can we compare them and contrast, and then from there, take some practical strategies to be very responsive in our routines at home and in in-care settings. I know you do a lot of amazing work at home visiting and with home interventions, but also in the childcare settings, you can do this. And of course, we will talk about families. Families are constantly the main key port for us to go further with enhancing and promoting early intervention, early development. But beyond that, I want you to strengthen a collaborative approach and really grasp what connection, early connection means. We promote that a lot at MSU and our Center for Autism and Early Childhood Mental Health. We all have this arena where we really want to support young children's social and emotional development, despite the current times, despite what is going on. We know families are experiencing a lot of fear, uncertainty again. We just passed the pandemic. So I want you to really sit here with us and with me and think about what is the power of predictable routines. Why are they so key and so needed more than ever right now? And remember, when we were in the COVID times, when we lost our routines, we felt like this unsafety and security sense of the world. So what happens with young children, with infants and toddlers, is they are born and immediately they start experiencing what we sometimes experience when this dysregulation or unsafety happens, and they are seeking for routines. They are seeking to feel safe and secure with us, and of course have a deeply warm connection moment, several moments, several connections until they build a relationship with us. This is the primary caregivers, parents, of course, but also children that are spending a lot of time with us in the arenas of home visiting and also childcare settings in family childcare providers. So what is the importance of the first years? Why is so crucial about having these routines, this amazing routine framework? I know in the early intervention system, you have had a lot of formation in routines-based, but today I want you to think further about what is the importance of these routines and what do they offer about the sense of security and help feel themselves safe. So in that way, they will definitely regulate their emotion, co-regulate with you or their emotions, and reduce their anxiety and support their emotional well-being. So they will feel competent and confident around you. This is also why the predictability of the routine, we want to be highlighted. We want it to be highlighted as much as possible because we know there are certain changes during the day. Sometimes we have to change from one adult to the other, from one room to the other, from expected activities that we were gonna have, or sometimes the basic needs like meals, nap times, going to bed, taking a shower, bathing the baby, etc., can shift a little bit during the day. And sometimes when this is inconsistent, when this is happening again and again, I never know when I'm gonna eat. I never know when I'm gonna get this bath or my diaper being changed, or that adult that I need so much that I'm attached to. It becomes a lot of information that needs to be processed, but more than that, a lot of sensory information that needs to be processed, and that is what can impact the brain development of a baby, of a toddler. The difference with older children is they already have their nervous system in place, ready to go to connect with what was created, what was fundamental for them in their early years. But with infants and toddlers, the environment, the adults in the room are the most important thing for them. And that predictability of seeing that adult every day, that mom, that dad, that caregiver that can give me that take caregiver is what is gonna give me the first sense of my routines. The many times I'm being held, many times that I've been changed and fed and met my basic needs, but also when I feel that love, that expected tune of love. So let's talk a little bit about the brain. The brain is fascinating. And in babies and toddlers, now we know we have scientists in the cribs talking to us, telling us what is behind these routines, what is behind emotional regulation in babies and brain development. We know that the first 3 years of life, even though we don't have memory, visual memory of things that happen to us, we do have sensory memory, and we have also emotional and social memory. So when that happens, when something happens to us when we are babies and toddlers, it stays forever in ourselves. Now we know that because the brain functions like that. Things that happen very consistent, very predictable, very like routine-like, they are gonna be looking at us, they are gonna be giving us the sense of those connections that are going to create a safety network in the brain. This is fascinating. I love it. These regular predictable activities, before we were like, oh, it's just to organize the day or just to have, a sense of organization in the day. Well, it goes beyond that. Now we know it creates in the brain the neuronal pathways to self-control and stress management. And we're going to look today at behaviors as signs of stress in babies and toddlers. Of course, in adults, but we're talking about the baby and the toddler in the room. So that is something that is going to be so important to understand that and to acknowledge. And if you do it already, I send kudos to you. If you're just like having this aha moment, like, oh, wow, I know about routines and I know I have to cover that part, but I didn't know how deeply they were important and how much we needed to work on that because emotional regulation and social skills are taking place based on how safe and secure I feel. And safe and security we can only experience as babies and toddlers through these routines and routines within routines. So that will give us, right, examples of effective routines, very basic ones, meal times, nap times, transitions. But the difference is as consistent as it is my eating, my rituals to hand washing, choosing food, quiet conversations during it. It's what creates a pattern of a healthy physical approach to eating. And of course, again, as I said, safety and security. Nap time, a calming pre-sleep routine can lead me to calm down my sensory system and learn to rest, learn to cuddle, learn to listen to a soft voice, gentle music, a gentle approach physically from someone else. Some babies and toddlers haven't experienced that at all in their first 3 years. Some of us as adults never experienced that when we were growing up. Some of us were lucky. You were lucky to have that in your environment. But what about those that don't? We have a lot of, aftermath about that. So transitions, using clear cues. We before didn't know that transitions needed cues, visual cues a lot for infants and toddlers. Sometimes when I work with professionals and families, they tell me, Yolanda, but if they see an image, are they going to understand that? Are they going to relate to that? Guess what? Now we know that the brain functions with visual cues better 3 more than ever because my memory, my visual memory is being developed. So because I cannot recall that face of my mother, I need to sense her smell or her presence. If I see a picture of her face, I'm gonna light up because now I have a visual memory to connect with. And imagine if you can touch someone directly. I have worked with professionals that I adore, but we have never seen each other in person. And when we meet in person, I'm sure it has happened to you. We feel like even like, you know, you're in this surreal world when you touch someone that you haven't seen in person. And then you have a deep connection about that. Well, that happens to babies in the visual world. That is why we highlight that if you want to, again, address those behaviors, address those intense emotions, we need to see visually what's going on. And we're going to see examples of that later on. And of course, practical moments of transitions using different strategies. We will talk about that later on today. But I want to set up the stage of why we are going there with these practical strategies. Breaking down the steps of our routine. That's so important. We always work with families and caregivers, and of course, teachers, early interventionists, that to use the powers of the third routine, right? Or the third powers, routines within routines within routines. There are ideal routines, but culturally, we need to adapt this to the family culture of that specific family. We know sometimes we have families that have specific traditions and rituals that are included in those routines. We have certain family cultures where it's only the mother, only the father present, with one child, two children, etc. Everything changes with a family routine, within a family routine because of the culture they are experiencing. And we are talking today about culture, talking about which traditions, rituals, and routines that family specifically has for their own habitat. So this is an example, right? Getting ready for bed. Look at how many routines we have in there to be able to complete just one of them, which is getting ready to bed. Like steps within routine will be go to the toilet, take a bath, you know, put on pajamas, brush hair, brush teeth, get into bed, read 2 stories, snuggle, and say goodbye, good night. And I always say to families, this is a sample. Let's get to know what is your routine, and let's see what do you want to spice it up, add on, to make it really powerful for your child and for you, to prevent behaviors to escalate, to also practice emotional regulation together. So let's talk about this common triggers. Let's take a look about identifying these common triggers. And we will talk about challenging behaviors now. As unmet needs, as a signs of stress. As I said, we're going to do a paradigm shift today. We're going to be trying to reframe what we see about behavior. And maybe you already are there, so that's amazing. Are you still struggling with that concept of challenging behavior? Let's clear that out for you today. And if you already have started thinking about it, let's see what outlines these in the birth to 3 population, okay? Which is very different from early childhood 3 and beyond. Why I highlight this? Because infant and toddlers will use challenging behaviors, behaviors that are very intense, emotions that are very intense to communicate, to tell us a lot about what they're feeling, what they need, what they want. And this is because we know that language, verbal language, is still in the make, right? So how are they going to let us know what they are and what they are not, okay? And what happened to them and what needs to be met or met, okay? So what are challenging behaviors? Remember, behaviors that can interrupt the daily activities, can disrupt them, cause distress, are difficult to manage. It could be crying, fighting, tantrums. It could be spitting, pushing, pulling hair, kicking, doing a fist and then go for it. Also, it could be a withdrawal. We can see a child that is completely disconnected of what's going on, and which is very, while it's being very silent, it's also a challenging behavior, okay? All these behaviors to be called challenging they need to be occurring at least 3 to 5 times per day and more. I have worked with children that have 27 to 32 behaviors per day, part of the day and then another part of the day, because it became their language to communicate. What is not a challenging behavior? Let's clear that out too. It's not a sign of a bad child or a bad parenting. We need to change that approach, and we need to change that. Why? Because we are not going beyond that. If we want to move forward, feeling competent and confident addressing these, first thing we need to do is to reframe that and see it as rather signals of unmet needs. We have a lot of unmet needs throughout our life. If I ask you today, what is your unmet need? I am missing my coffee, my full cup of coffee. And I'm feeling that, energy drive to get it, right? Unmet needs happen at least 100 to 100 and more times during the day for an infant and toddler. Like they come in microseconds to happen. So they will create overwhelming emotions. Us as adults are more regulated, some more, some less, to address our overwhelming emotions, regulate, and calm down. Young children are just learning to do that. They are just faced with, oh my God, I have this wave of emotions and I don't know what to do it. I cannot even start reflecting on it. It's just like it's coming and I need to eat, I need to sleep, I need a hug, I need to be in your lap, So common triggers for challenging behavior. Let's look at this in infant and toddlers, which are very different. Some of them are similar to preschoolers and beyond, but they can be present in different ways. But in infant and toddlers, there are 4 that are key ones: hunger, fatigue, overstimulation, and separation anxiety. Those are the 4 common triggers that infants and toddlers have to address. In the hunger arena, we have irritability, fussiness, right? We see a baby fuss, a 1-year-old, having difficulty just even turning their heads towards you, right? Like calming down their bodies. Fatigue. When they get that fatigue, sometimes as adults, I've worked with moms and dads that it's difficult for them to understand, to even read the signs when their children are getting tired, like getting fatigued, and their children cannot express that. So it's that routine that helps you. And sometimes you want to put them to nap or sleep and they don't want to because they are not having achieved that level of, okay, I need to calm down with my fatigue. Sometimes they're super tired, but they cannot fall asleep because they're crying, the resistance, the difficulty transitioning to that is kicking in. And that's the key to address these behaviors, to understand those key moments of transition. And today we're just presenting them, but later on, we can continue offering you how, to go in detail in each one of these and address this. Overstimulation, that's when we see babies, toddlers covering their ears, crying, running away from you, and then the aggressive behaviors come, the biting, the crying, with biting, and also with, pinching and grabbing someone, or, scratching someone or something, right? And then the separation anxiety, clinging, crying when a caregiving leaves or a caregiver leaves, or someone that is nearby them or they have attached already leaves. I always say, when I see a baby or a toddler crying from someone that left, sometimes we are seeing a lot of anxiety, but also a healthy relationship. Why does that mean? Because they are attaching to that person. I mean, they're showing their preference to that person. So that's so important. And then let's go for understanding these unmet needs. Why are they happening? We need to have also those signals. We will see those signals happening. We will see, as we saw in that table that I put there with the emoticons, the need for attention, the sensory overload, and then the lack of language. Behavior is communication. Behavior is telling us a message to express their needs so they can tell us what they need, right? Sometimes I hear a lot, parents and also caregivers saying, Yolanda, he or she wants me to carry him all the time. He throws his hands to me and his arms. What should I do? Carry him or her. Hold him in your arms. But he's gonna get spoiled, but he wants that all the time. That's he's seeking that unmet need of feeling that warmness, that careness, that connection with you. That is why they crave so much for that holding. And as soon as they feel it, the sensory system starts, responding. But we need to do that more and more, right? So tantrums versus meltdowns. First, let's clear out the concept. I know you know it because you are a professional in early intervention, but sometimes we need to refresh our memory and these concepts. Tantrums are emotional outbursts that are shorter in time, duration. They seek attention primarily, and also something that they need to co-regulate over a situation or something that they want to get or obtain or avoid, okay? That's the specific part of the tantrum. We can see, we see a lot of redness in the face, right? Like a lot of, the fists are coming like that, but then it comes down, right? The meltdown is when we see tears. When you see tears, when you see that it's longer, intense, totally dysregulated, it's talking about their emotions being exposed, and is often related to sensory overload, emotional overwhelming, feelings of being unsafe. They are not driven by a specific unmet need or something that they want to obtain. They already lost it. They already passed that. The meltdown becomes a whole situation that lasts a long time, and it's so overwhelming. It's so difficult to calm down. I need 100% co-regulation and someone to lend me their calm to get there and wait for me to get there. And of course, it's a reaction as well. So I created these for you so you can compare and contrast the meltdowns and the tantrums. As you can see here, the cause of one is different from the other one, because we are talking about tantrums being that frustration that I need something, that desire, and the other one is already sensory overload. I need to adjust that. Totally loss of control, talking about loss of self-regulation or regulation, emotional regulation. We don't like to use the control concept, because that only happens in adults or mature brains. Duration, as I said, is here, and we can compare, right, from one response to the other. The one is meltdowns are seeking a safe space, tantrums are seeking co-regulation, and then give me what I need, or I want to avoid that completely, that thing that I don't want. So let's work on reframing a misbehavior. Sometimes we talk about misbehaviors or these challenging behaviors. So let's do a shift in this. And how about we start talking about stress? We see behaviors as a child's attempt to communicate under stress rather than deliberate defiance. So wow, that's something to consider, right? So we can go from what is wrong with you to what is happening to you. So if I approach that from that understanding, from that situation, for example, instead of saying crying during transitions, this child cries during transitions, I can say, she or he is having difficulty adapting to change. So I reframe that, right? I see it in a way that I'm talking more about what is happening to him or her. Let's talk about that instead of saying, oh, that's wrong. What's wrong with it? Okay. Hitting another child. Instead of that, saying needing help to express frustration and refusing to it instead of, reframing with sensory sensitivity or feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes they do that because they totally don't feel like eating in that moment because the sensory overload is too much. So the power of validation also comes here, right? Always free of judgment. When we acknowledge, Dr. Dan Siegel says, name entertainment, identify, name emotions in yourself and in others. So we can co-regulate, we can have a sense of, calming down, experience that in our brains and then in our bodies, in our sensory system. So I see you're upset. Let's figure this out together. Saying things in the I person, like I feel so blessed. I feel so thankful. I feel so calm by being with you. Oh, I see that you're struggling to calm down. Let me help you. Things like that will help and will be different for children when they start tuning to those voices, to those calm and soft voices that say those kind of things. So transitions are routines. We have these key transitions when we get to a place, when we go to sleep, when we get in the car, right? Transitions are really difficult, are the most the children infant and toddlers start feeling unsafe because they have that sense of separation from the object, from the space, from the person. So we can use timers, always help. Even with toddlers and babies, the timer can be used by the adult, okay? Give a verbal warning with a tone of voice that they can sense, right? They can sense, oh, that tone of voice is different. That means that I'm going to transition to something. And they even pick up cues because we change our mood and the way we use words when we are transitioning. Objects are always good for transitioning for infants and toddlers, different from other ages. And I always say an object is always, if a calming object is needed, let's leave it. Let's transition with that. Remember, I always put the example of our cell phones. If I take your cell phone away, will you dysregulate? Some of us go nuts, right? Well, we need transitional objects, and the cell phone for us sometimes is a transitional object as adults. So imagine a child, a baby, a toddler. We can make transitions fun as well, sing songs, give the children a job to do, something, even babies to touch, to feel, to hug, songs are really good. A blankie, things like that. That is different for transitions. Practical strategies for responsive routines are the ones that we want you to take also today with you. So while we are designing these responsive routines, we talk already about what is a challenging behavior, what these tantrums and meltdowns mean, and these uniques and family culture as well and context. We can create rituals, we can create routines that involve, those routines, and then they kind of vaccinate them. They kind of booster and foster them. They are protective ways of prevent this escalation of behaviors, but also to create a safe and security sensation in all of these. And as I said, visual schedules, gentle reminders. Before, we used to think that babies and toddlers will not respond, as I said before, to visuals at the beginning. Well, guess what? Yes. When we use real pictures with the objects or the spaces or the people they are going to encounter in simple design, like we see in this slide, we see some photographs, we see, this difference in looking at only the pajama, only the bear in the bed, But if we use this in real, like we take a picture of the bed, we took a picture of the mom hugging that baby, that toddler that you are providing services for, and having these clear pictures, larger ones, they can relate completely in that visual support to help for the transition or for any other example. Choices. This is very important. Given always 2 choices, 2 to 3 choices maximum. Mealtime, right? You can have mealtime with your father, with me, with your sibling, with the 3 of us, and we can use a different sippy cup, a different color. You can have an orange or an apple, things like that. That is so concrete. Children can choose and can calm down in the moment, but also feel like when they have choices, they feel like they also have some owning of their own emotional regulation. That's what is behind that message. Sometimes we say, oh, they want choices because they want to, be in control of me or on control of what they want. Well, yes, but the sense is emotional regulation. The behind the scenes is emotional regulation they are seeking for. Riding the car with, the bear or the dinosaur, and then we can go for this song or that song, things like that helps so much. Taking a bath, you're going to take a bath. That's not a choice. You can take a choice by using a cloth or, a toy or, a bathrobe. So these different things make us, work on calming routines, sensory activities, like gentle rocking, connecting based routines like we saw an example of that, but we will see more about some of that in a minute. I always talk about people, objects, locations, and activities. When you locate what is the preference in each one of these for their interest, you can have also the key element for preventing that escalation by having this ready for you to go when a transition is going to happen or a routine is going to happen. We need to also spice it up with sensory play, connection games, and also social emotional learning with stories. I'm going to put a very quick video. It's a 1 minute and 30 seconds about a family book practice that this home provider does with these children, these infant and toddlers, and see the response of these real pictures combined with this routine of looking at my family book and how powerful it could be for them, right? So let's take a look really quick.
My dad! Look! My dad! Look! What's that? Daddy! My dad picked me up!
Your dad picks you up?
Look, it's
Man, that's so exciting when Daddy picks you up.
My dad's I don't have no picture. My mom and dad.
Let's see. Let's turn it to the front. Let's turn it. I think you do have a picture with your mom and dad. When you was a baby.
When I was a baby.
Oh, how special. Let's see Naomi.
Gabby sleep on the bed.
Gabby's sleeping on her cot.
See some.
Oh, look. What's that? What did we do?
It's a baby.
Yeah, we went under the table. We made a tent, right?
Why?
We went under the table because it was raining that day and it was thundering.
So,
Yeah.
Look,
Look.
look.
We got under the table.
Look, Gabby sleeping. Toys.
Did you remember that when you was a baby? What's that, Gabby? Gabby and Ava in the swing?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you remember that? Gabby didn't put on no shoes that day. You didn't have any shoes on.
Why?
Because she was a baby. Baby Gabby didn't have her shoes on. Just like baby Ava. What's your shoes? Open your
Okay, so this amazing moment of that caregiver, looking at those, making comments, right? Making those connections, making that visual encounter, but also expanding on it, right? So let's go for culturally responsive routines. We always, as I said before, and this is just to remind us today, that adapting routines to reflect the diverse family structures and backgrounds of the families we serve, it's also crucial. Like there are some ideal ones that we would love to have, but sometimes we have a family culture that needs a specific routine that completely takes us, you know, to another place in our consulting, in our service providing moment, right? So when we go for that, let's acknowledge and encourage children while they are going through routines. And I work with families a lot about that, talking about that specific positive, descriptive feedback you can give. Encourage all attempts during the routine, but also to the families, to the parents that are trying that. I'm sure you have found families that didn't think they were having those routines at all. And then they start discovering, yes, I do have routines, and they have created a safe space for my child, but I need to spice it more, you know, integrate more here and there so it can be more powerful for my child and create more safetiness and, of course, healthy development. So let's go to our last section, building collaborative partnerships, and talking about that, right? It is very important for us as early interventionists that this collaboration between families and us providing these services really offer that expertise, but also see families as how they know their best about their children, right? Even though sometimes they are seeking for a lot of content, knowledge, and information from us, we always know that caregivers are the ones who provide the daily support. So we need to collaborate on that further and further, and have these communication strategies with them, right? Active listening, show empathy always, thinking about what Dr. Brazelton says. Parents are the ones who have that expertise about their child, and we need to listen to them, using a lot of I statements to express our observations and concerns, what I feel, what I believe, what I see, and practice a lot of reflective listening. It sounds like you're feeling, or just repeating what they just said. Sometimes they just need that validation of listening in your voice what they are wandering around already they are doing with their child, right? Using that strengths-based language is crucial. Expressing, for example, he's exploring his environment with curiosity instead of he's too hyper, right? Helping them reframe, reinforce their efforts. You're doing a great job creating a safe space for him. So when we add those connecting moments, you're deeply connecting with your child. You're deeply creating a deep and safe space, a safe surrounding and safe connection, a safe relationship. When we use these keywords, we really go for it. And I can't believe it just flew like a like the origami that I had for you today. I know we have some few minutes left for some questions and comments, but I want you to have key takeaways for today. Remember that predictable routines are the powerful tool for emotional regulation and sense of security in young children. Is what I want you the most for you today, to take that. Also, the challenging behavior, we can see them as stress in children that are feeling emotionally overwhelmed and unmet needs. And then we have that paradigm shift. And in building collaborative partnership with families, remember you're fostering healthy development and connection, but beyond that, you're helping them create in their brains and their own beings the sense of safety and security in the world. So I want to leave this message for you that I prepared especially for all of you today. And thank you for logging in today. We're going to open up time for a little bit of questions before we go on dot. But I want to have this message for you to take it as, if you want, inspirational, prompting you, or just making you reflect, or or add into your toolbox. I want to say to you that remember, in every meltdown, there is a message. In every tear, a story. Our role is to understand behaviors and the emotions beneath them. As you live here today, remember that every moment of frustration is also an opportunity to connect, to comfort, and to teach. Let's turn tears into trust and chaos into connection. Thank you. And I'm going to be ready for questions. Laura, I don't know if you're going to help me with that.
Yes, I can. If anyone has a question and wants to raise their hand or type it in the chat, we will read them over to Yolanda.
Thank you.
Do you see that, Laura?
Yeah, and there's one question. Parents are still using timeout as a method of discipline. How can we as practitioners start changing their mindset?
I love that question. Who posed that question, Laura?
Karina.
Oh, Karina, thank you for that. There's a lot of confusion about timeout. Remember the 9/11 nanny from TLC that used a lot of timeout to teach at the stairs or to hold those behaviors and those meltdowns and tantrums? Well, now we know that she was, first of all, cheating because she took her 6 months or so to get there. Secondly, there was a lot of, things that went wrong to that timeout modeling for everybody. Timeout could be helpful if we use it with these tips, right? The first one is shift from timeout to call it calming time, okay? Or calming moment. So when we coach parents, help them understand the difference between calming and putting a child under a discipline moment on timeout and using it for everything, it's not going to work. If we use it just for calming moments with a time frame setup, like I always say, 1 year per year, 1 minute per year of life. So if you have a 3-year-old, it's 3 minutes in that calming moment or that calming zone or that calming space. It's 2 minutes for 2-year-olds. It's 1 minute at most for a 1-year-old. And then you can start doing that. You can start building up that. But it's for the child to feel a little bit of space, calm down their emotions and then come back. You can help them through it, but giving a lot of attention during the timeout, like, you start scolding, you start talking to them. Parents usually do that, talk a lot, make even comments about that. Other siblings make comments about that. That will enhance the situation in a defense-defiant way every time I want to go to timeout. And we use it for when you do it in a wrong way, it is like using it for everything. Oh, you are not eating, let's go to timeout. Oh, you were crying while grabbing that toy, timeout. You don't want to get in the car, timeout. Things like that will completely take the timeout in a way that is not going to work anymore. It's the opposite. It's going to trigger more and more those meltdowns, those tantrums. So what I always recommend is to help them shift this, go to a calming moment or calming space, get that, find a space in the home that is free of toys or just a little corner, that they can have a pillow there and just lay there to calm down. You don't need more than that. And they start learning that routine as well and incorporate that into routine as a calming space. Okay, sorry about that.
Great, thank you. We have 2 more questions. Sophia and Jane, we probably can combine them. Sophia asks, any advice for when you can't hold them and they're requesting to be picked up? For example, when you're standing over a stove, if you're unable to lift, or you're on the toilet and they're screaming for help. And Jane asked advice when a true meltdown occurs and the child is aggressively kicking, hitting, throwing themselves on the ground and cannot regulate.
Well, for the first one, remember there's a lot of ruptures and repairs during the day. When I cannot hold the child in the moment when I'm cooking or I'm in the bathroom, give yourselves permission to have that rupture, right? It's going to be a rupture. I'm not going to, meet that need. If I fade that a longer time, it's going to cause that child starts feeling unsafe, right? But if immediately after I finish that cooking or immediately I finish that, being in the bathroom, for example, and I go and I carry the baby, or you carry your child, and you stay with your child until they feel like I connected with you again. And in that moment, it could be a minute only, but you make eye contact, you hold them, you tell them, I'm here for you. Just one key phrase. I gave you this example of this phrase, but you can use any phrase at all. That is really powerful for that. So I'm holding you, I'm here for you. Thank you for waiting. I am here with you right now. Just being in the present moment with them, with that sensory response, that helps a lot to repair. You repair in the moment, they feel like they came back, and it becomes a moment of serve and return. Sometimes we cannot do that, but if we keep postponing, that will create a meltdown. And then the other question, Laura, if you wanna repeat that again, about, I know about a lot of behaviors, yeah, but
Advice when a true meltdown occurs, when the child's aggressively kicking, hitting, throwing themselves on the ground and cannot regulate.
I always recommend you to try to not engage in trying to hold the child, right? Or to restrain the child in a certain way. Sometimes we're concerned about their safety, right? Because they can hit their heads or on the floor or things like that. So if you need to move your child, to a space where it can be safer, right? But leave it there. You stay nearby, but you are not looking at it, looking at the behavior, talking to them, just saying, when you come down, when you're ready to come out from that, I'm here with you. That's it. And you repeat that again and again. Try to keep a neutral voice. And of course, check the surroundings. Could be a sensory overload happening. Maybe the lightning, maybe there's a lot of noise, maybe your voice is getting also very agitated, or you yourself, you're getting agitated as well. Just also check if there's something in you that you are also triggering that more and more to happen. And this is a practice that you need to do consistently for several times, during a long period of time, until they start getting it and they start getting less and less of that. And of course, as much as we start creating routines that prevent that escalation, we will not have more of that behaviors that could be so challenging. We have any other question or comment?
There is nothing else in the chat. So I think that we're good.
Yes, those are really great questions. Thank you for today. We finish on time. I hope this was helpful. Thank you, Laura, for the invitation. I love being here with all of you today. And thank you for logging in and being in this amazing EI week.
Yes, thank you, Yolanda. And then we also do have a virtual presentation tomorrow, everyday tips of talking to your child, including sign language. So we'll send out more information, but the registration for that's already gone out. And we hope to see you at different things throughout the week. But thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon.
We will get the recorder.